Ep5! Welcome everybody, we are back with the Harry Potter Roundtable. This week we will be going over the Order of the Phoenix. I almost said Fingus. Wow.
Like the weird Jewish offshoot. Order of the Fingus.
Hey, I got a little bit of gefilte fish here. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna storm the castle. We're gonna take out fucking Voldemort. Oh, I can't say his name.
He clipped my wand.
Oh my god, it's been a day, folks. It's been a true Monday here. But yes, we are going to be going over the Order of the Phoenix and seeing where the first dark turn of the very first on-screen death from the last movie is going to take this series. And I'm not alone. I am being joined by Connor and Basement. How are you two doing?
I'm great. How are you, Mason?
I'm doing good, man. The Order of Fingus. Let's go.
Spin the dreidel. How you doing? Press your luck. You're gonna face the Dark Lord.
Every Horcrux is like a different fucking Jewish tool.
Yeah.
A dreidel, a fucking...
What is the Star of David?
Oh my god. It's like I said, it's been a true Monday here, folks. I could barely even talk for a meeting with my Sensi team today. So, can you please do that out in the living room?
No, I cannot.
No mother.
Because I don't have a dreidel.
I just want to hear a child with like an extremely strong like TV reporter voice.
Oh god.
No mother, I cannot.
All right.
I thought you were talking about like the TV announcer, like, no, mother, I cannot.
Yeah, that would be Wendy. That right there. Reports say that my mother has asked me to do something, but I have refused.
Reports have been denied.
It's just in a tantrum.
Breaking news. Fuck this shit.
Yeah. All right, before we jump into the storyline here, let's start with Basement so he can get his thoughts without spoilers out of the way first.
All right. Order of the Phoenix. I can't remember if I really enjoyed the book or not. I feel like the movie was better than the book.
The book has some very confusing parts that if you had to go back and read a couple of paragraphs again just to make sure you read it properly in the first place. So yes, I can understand that entirely.
The book was massive. I remember the book being really big.
I remember that too.
Now, as far as the movie goes, this was really good. I'm not going to spoil too much about the storyline. A couple things that are overarching. The music, the soundtrack seems to be back on point. Like last movie, I did say that the soundtrack was passable, was fine, but it wasn't like special.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a step above. It's still not back where the original three were, but it is a step above where the last one was, so that it's not really something I'm going to harp on and look at outside of the fact that I do think they captured a bit more of the magic with it. And I think they use a lot of the original score just like tweaked a little bit.
Yes, they do.
Within this one, my main takeaway is I remember when these movies came out, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, the child actors, and a lot of people were giving a lot of praise to Emma Watson for Hermione. I actually think Daniel Radcliffe fucking killed it in this movie. He does an amazing job in this movie as Harry Potter. Way more than he's in this movie. He's leagues above the other two, but the other two are good too.
Well, I can tell you right now that one of the scenes towards the end there, he was not acting. That was real life. But we'll get there when we get to that part of the movie.
It does. He does get. Well, obviously, he's featured a lot more in this one, and a lot of the weight of the story really relies on him. Other than that, like Harry Potter's always done, the casting for all the new characters is incredible, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say without going into it.
All right, Connor, you take over with your thoughts. I have to pee really quick.
So, I'll make sure my thoughts are very short as she runs off into the distance, into the night. Man, I thought Goblet was good. Man, so I was talking to Heather in basement before we got on here, and it's not. I know Heather said that this is her favorite for obvious reasons that we'll get into, and I think Basement said the same thing before we got to this. And it's not that I never doubted them; it's just that for me, I only remember a couple of key things from the movie. And holy shit, there are a lot of little nuances and things that I completely forgot about that really sold me on this. There is not much for me to hate on this. There's really not a whole lot for me to hate on this. Without getting too crazy into it, there are 3 characters that I absolutely adore in this that I think do a fantastic job. One of them is Dumbledore. The other is Sirius Black, and the other is the new bitch that we'll get into in a lot of detail. But between Dumbledore, Sirius, and new she bitch, there's a lot to enjoy between the 3 of them, and there's just so much. There's a key part of the overall story that I won't get into that is just like it's intriguing because it kind of diversifies the kids and the adults, and it's also kind of a coming of age story where like the kids are stepping into their own, which we'll get into. But goddamn, there's not much for me to hate on this. I'm just warning you now. It's gonna be a big love fest for me because there's not much to not like about this.
You do, Connor. Yeah, when you said coming of age, I think like the way I looked at it is the kids are now, they're almost treated like adults.
Yep.
I don't know, like I'm not going to say
Or they're
coming of
starting
age,
to.
but they are like they're starting to be on like equal playing field as the adults, which is something that is also really interesting in this one.
Well,
Yep.
this is the movie that is the one age just before they're allowed to do magic outside of school.
Ooh. By the way, I still love the twins. I'll get into that a little bit
exactly.
later. The twins have a specific scene in this that I absolutely fucking love them for, and they're my heroes. Continue.
The very beginning of this movie and fucking Molly's line towards them, she's like, yeah, that could be taken so many different ways. But yes, I have said this from the start. This is my favorite movie, despite Goblet of Fire being my favorite book.
Yeah, it's easy to see why. Like yep.
God.
No, just to say that you're absolutely right.
This is not my favorite movie. It's hard to say because in the end, I think there's 3 movies that I think are exceptionally well done. This is one of them. The third movie is another one, and we'll get to the other one later on.
Yeah. But yeah, this is, as you both have already said, this is a coming of age movie. This is where things not only get darker, you see the kids in the light as adults and behaving as adults would behave or should behave in certain situations. And then on top of that, you have them taking the initiative to come into their own as well, and and learn ways of all the things they need to do, while also it turning to probably one of the darkest parts of their young lives at the moment, because they were not old enough to actually remember the actual events of Voldemort and the Death Eaters when he first emerged. Mm-hmm. So this is now their generation of going through it, and
your turn for PTSD.
Yeah, and learning what their parents and their grandparents had gone through. So it's again, this is one of those things where it takes a very dark turn, but it also shows the moral decisions that they make and how grown up they've become over this entire series so far. But
it does seem like a changing of the guard in a lot of ways. Like you like not Not that it's obviously the kids are still listening to the teachers and whatnot, and they're
Right.
still like there's still that like I hate to say like after school special or Scooby Doo esque vibe to it,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Oh,
can
there
tell.
is moments of Scooby Doo in this.
Oh, very much so. Yes.
Oh yeah, well, but they're starting to go in a different direction, which will be full throttle by the time we get to the very by the very end.
Right.
Oh, Cody, we'll get there, Cody. Don't worry. Shout out to all the
Yes.
wonderful peeps in the chat too.
Yes.
Oh, trust me, Cody. I actually, that person's actually one of my faves. So we'll get there. You'll see.
We'll
I'll
get
explain.
there when we get there, but let's jump into this story now. As we open up, Harry Potter and his cousin Dudley Dursley are attacked by two Dementors, but Harry manages to drive the Dementors off with a Patronus charm. Shortly thereafter, the Ministry of Magic detect the act of underage wizardry and attempt to have Harry expelled from Hogwarts immediately, but this is modified to a trial later in the summer. After experiencing horrible nightmares depicting the evil Lord Voldemort's return, Harry is awoken by the arrival of an advanced guard of wizards who escort him to the headquarters of the Order of the Phoenix, a secret organization founded by Dumbledore. It is only now that Harry discovers that under the Ministry's influence, the newspaper, the Daily Prophet, has launched a smear campaign against anyone who claims that Voldemort has returned, leaving Harry feeling isolated and betrayed by the wizarding community. Harry and the other members of the Order fly to 12 Grimwald Place, the home of Sirius Black, where they meet with Sirius, Remus, Ron, Hermione, and the others. They really had to put those two names right next to each other. Thank you for that.
Well,
Later, Ron and Hermione express concern about Harry's situation with the Ministry. We're going to pause it right there because that's very condensed. Oh my goodness. So with the opening of this, Dudley has not only grown up, but he's become cross-eyed.
He's a white rapper.
His transformation was fucking incredible. He's a white rapper by the name of Big D.
I could not have wished for anything more. You know what I mean? Like it's like
if he had to go somewhere, this is where he needed to go. I love the fact that they go back to the Dursleys. We went back to the Dursleys, guys.
Yes.
Finally.
Yes, we're back at the Dursleys, and apparently it's during a record heat wave in Little Wingy.
Yeah, what the fuck?
And then he's talking shit to Harry. He's like, "Oh, you're screaming for Cedric. Oh,
moaning
Cedric.
for Cedric on your pillow. Who's Cedric?"
And then after that, he just becomes like a catatonic fucking retarded son of a bitch.
Hey, Big D, you're dropping your new single on SoundCloud there? What's the deal?
He needs a face tattoo of a dick.
He needs surgery to separate his fucking eyes. My God, I thought that would be something that he grew out of, but I think his eyes grew closer together.
Crisscross, applesauce, big mustard. Dude.
Oh God!
I do like the person that they cast to play that fucking woman, the squib woman, like looking at her. She's so fucking right. I don't know how
well, here's the funnier part about it. She is actually mentioned quite earlier in the books. The very first book, Harry had to stay with her and her 12 fucking cats, and he hated being there. But and apparently. And by this book, it's revealed that she is a spy for Dumbledore, keeping an eye on him throughout his whole life. So it's like, bitch, why didn't you fucking open your mouth about him being malnourished and abused beforehand?
Well, welcome to Harry Potter, where like, the best thing for the child is the worst thing for the child. Oh, and this book or this movie really like hammers home the point that like. Man, everybody fucking mistreats this guy, no matter who they are. It's like, yeah, we decided to stop all your mail and not talk to you and just fucking leave you away from everything for your good and for the good of everyone. But we won't tell you anything. We'll just keep you in the dark.
Yeah, I had a note here. It's of, hey kids, can you guess who's the more abusive towards Harry? It's the magic world or it's the real world?
So they go back right after the whole attack. They go back to the Dursleys' home, and fucking the woman's there, like fanning herself with that those little fucking
Little
$1
battery-operated
fan,
handheld fan.
and
Spread
fucking
eagle
shit.
on the couch, just, oh my god.
The Big Daddy Dursley's in there with his long ass spoon and the yogurt or something,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
he's like, "Our boy has gone yumpy." What the fuck? Yeah, the terms are so good. I had a question about this though. Like, why did the Dursleys leave the house?
Because they were bringing him to go seek medical help.
Oh, okay. I thought they were just like running or something.
They're trying to
No,
focus
they
cross-eyed.
left under the cover of night because, as we see in the first book and the first movie, they want absolutely nothing to do with the wizarding world, and they don't want the neighbors to know. They don't want he doesn't want his boss to know. They don't want their friends to know. They are the atypical, completely normal, absolutely ordinary English family. Nothing beyond that.
I do love how, like, when a neighbor looks, he points his own kid. He's like fucking crazy in the head. Like, I don't know, something about that like just reminded me like 1950s fucking Looney Tunes, and I really put a smile on my face. Yeah, fucking who doesn't love the Dursleys?
Yeah,
it was a good start to it. They show, like, we got our first look at Tonks. I think that's the first time we see that character.
This is the first time we see Nymphadora Tonks, who we also learn hates Nymphadora.
Yeah, and it's good. Like, they don't have a lot of time to delve into it in the movies, but they do make a point to showcase it, even though it has no. In the end, like, you could have left that scene out, and it wouldn't have changed anything in the movie, or because the character's not really highlighted too much. But it's good, a little addition to stay true to the books.
Yes, because I was going to say, if the people who read the books, if he had said that and she didn't fire back at him, the people who read the books would have fired at them.
It also gives the character a little bit more depth when you're not going to really devote too much screen time to them. So it's a one-up on them for doing so. I absolutely love. I remember in the books too, the place that they go to, 12. What's it? The
12 Grimmauld Place.
So the books, like the introduction to that place was fucking fascinating.
Yeah,
in the books, they really like delve into the building.
Yeah, the transformation of the two buildings, the earthquake of the ground, and the transformation and the buildings actually parting ways.
And like the oddness of it being the place where they gather, because it's such a seedy hideout. Mm-hmm. Technically, I like the way that they showcase it, where it like slides out, and they have like the rumbling, and all the fucking Muggle people are like just not paying attention.
Yeah, everybody in the window is still going. Everybody in every window is still going about their normal daily, nightly life. It's fucking great work there with that, honestly.
And they do something that is, again, prevalent today with the news media being in control by the government to showcase and hide certain facts. And I'm like, man, that is so on point.
Fucking, I was just about to say, I have like big bold letters. I fucking love this concept.
Yeah, this is such a smart move to make the world against Harry Potter again. Like, this is it's a stumbling block for the character, but it's such a smart and well-constructed one that is based in realism that is great.
I mentioned earlier, I said that I love, like, there's three characters that, like, there's a couple of story aspects about this that I love. And this I am hook, line, and sinker, fucking sold. There's so much about this that and we will get into that, like, really fuels a lot of different aspects about the characters and just everything. Not even just the protagonist, but like everything in between.
And they do something really, really fucking smart that I didn't get until my second viewing, or whatever it is, viewing of this. That the way that they have Harry look in this, he looks a lot like the person that they get to portray his dad.
Yes.
It's so important because of how, like, the people in the Order, especially Sirius, look at him. and see his father. So like the change in look, and this to me is the iconic, like the Harry Potter look, the one that I always remember has Harry Potter looking, not like the young kid, not the long haired fucking hippie one. This look, and this is kind of like the look he keeps moving forward.
It's funny you say that because, and I agree everything you say, but I also note that like one of the things, this is gonna sound really fucking dark. He looks like he's been fucked up.
Yeah, he's got some PTSD going on, and well portrayed by the actor. Yeah,
which is fucking brilliant.
It is. It's just I have no other way to describe it other than
it's such a good, like he does, like it's not only the look but the way that Danny Radcliffe portrays him. You can see a difference in him being more mature, but also him being like impacted by the shit that's happened to him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and with this, since we are at that point with them showing up and the twins being old enough to do magic outside of school now, them apparating everywhere and them apparating behind their mom and scaring her, and the first words out of her mouth are, "It's just because you can do magic outside of school doesn't mean you have to whip your wands out for everything." Oh my god, I nearly peed my pants with that.
Again, fucking deadly acting by mother. I love her.
Now that was one of my favorite scenes of Twins.
The other one is the spy ear, the magical ear on a string that they have, and the cat attacking it. It's like, did you really expect something else to happen with a fucking cat? But it was also really good with this. Also, it was also, for me, it was also really good that when they showed up, one of the first people that Harry sees is Sirius, and he's sitting right there with his arm around his best friend in Remus. That Harry seeing the two of them first and foremost, after seeing the squad that brought him from the Dursleys to Grimmauld Place, that just solidifies even more. You know, he has been left alone the entire summer with no communication from anybody again.
And it's so bad because it's right after fucking he's witnessed his fellow schoolmate fucking die, and they're like, okay, whatever. Nobody needs to talk to him. It's like, what the fuck? That's like the worst possible thing you could do to a young kid.
I mean, granted, yes, don't tell him about the Order of the Phoenix, but let him know you're still alive at least. I mean,
you can also say like, we can't keep in contact. Here's the reason. Goodbye. So, because like not saying anything would make the fucking kid go crazy, which it obviously does.
It does. I mean, it's very stressful on a teenager after dealing with the loss of a schoolmate right in front of his eyes, and then have his best friends and his favorite teachers sit there and isolate him in that way. It's very, very stressful.
I fear that they didn't stress that enough at the beginning. Like, I mean, they said it, but and Harry kind of like, oh, and I get it, dense movie. I understand the limited time, blah blah blah. But I feel like that isolation wasn't stressed enough as far as like, yeah, fuck you, Harry.
But, I mean, you're right. I think it's good due to the condensed nature, but they do kind of like
gloss it over a little bit.
It's kind of like an add-on. It does work out a bit more, but if they had more time, I'm sure they could hammer it home.
One thing I will say real fast is, and I'll say this again, I'm repeating myself a lot in this review, so apologies in advance. Sirius Black is one of my favorite characters in this movie. Yeah, in this bar, it's very tricky because I like Gary Oldman. First off, fucking legend. Check that box right off.
Yeah,
but he really steps up and becomes he's a major focal point in the movie. The overall series itself is Sirius XM. But he's one of the three big characters in this entire movie that really sold me on it. I mean, obviously, like I said, Oldman's performance, come the fuck on. But like, there's a couple scenes later on that we'll get to that I'm like, sold.
And you know what? The in the books, he was one of my favorite characters, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that this movie does, and the books did great, and this is why I said I really like the 12 whatever fuck the place that they're in, right? The Order of the Phoenix's hideout, because
12
it's an
steps, whatever.
extension. It's an extension of his character, and where they can't have him show it, the house shows it because
Yeah.
that's his
Yes.
past and everything. So when as they traverse through the home, they kind of see like the ugliness of his past, and it's hammered home with the fucking little house elf. That's just the worst fucking thing
Yes.
alive.
Creature proving that not every house elf is a good house elf. And then you have the family mural where there's actual literal cigarette burns of family members that are taken off because of the fact that they had fallen in love with somebody who's not a full-blooded wizard.
Real quick,
Or had
I put a
disappointed the
note.
mother in one way or another.
I put a note. Dick Cheney as an elf.
Yeah.
Seriously, he's like grumbling along, fucking just the biggest racist, bigotous piece of shit.
Dick
Just strolling
Cheney
through
as
the
an elf.
hallway, damn colors. It's like holy shit, man. From a bygone era, he looks like a little fucking hateful scrotum.
hose him down. Oh,
The ovens were a good idea. It's like holy shit, man. What?
And then Harry Potter, friend of mudbloods and blood traders. It's like, good God, this elf is bitter.
Don't drink the water fountain. Oh, Jesus.
Fucking creepy ass son of a bitch.
Go to your own schools.
This doesn't
God.
explain it, so just real quick. This is where Harry actually finds out that he was being granted a hearing rather than just getting a flat out expulsion. So, and they find out after they get to the Ministry of Magic that the hearing time and location has changed. So jumping back into the story here at that, Harry and Arthur Weasley head to the court where Harry's trial will take place, briefly spotting Lucius Malfoy speaking with the minister on their way. With the help of Dumbledore and Harry's neighbor, Mrs. Fig, Harry is cleared of all charges at the ministry and is allowed to return to Hogwarts. However, during Harry, Ron, and Hermione's 5th year at Hogwarts School, the Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge, appoints a new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, Dolores Umbridge, a senior ministry official who refuses to teach practical magic to their students. As the ministry fears, Dumbledore will organize his own personal wizard army. We're going to pause it right there because it jumps ahead quite a bit after that. So yes, the time and meeting place of this trial is changed drastically to the point that Harry nearly misses it, which is even more fucking evident that they did not want this trial to happen. They just wanted him out of Hogwarts and forgotten about.
Conspiracy, man.
Yeah. Harry's there alone in the courtroom. He's surrounded by all these people that the only one he knows is Cornelius Fudge. And this is also where we first see Dolores Umbridge, who, God love her, your favorite character that you want dead.
Yeah, she's such a good. This is like genius on them too, or genius on J.K. Rowling, because they still want to hold off. Like the whole idea is Voldemort's the big bad, but you can't always have Voldemort be there, and you can't always have him be the main antagonist. And throughout the series of books and the series of movies, they've done a wonderful job of either having him control things from the shadows, or having like a stand-in that is interesting enough to take the heat off him while still keeping things moving storyline wise. This is probably the best example of having a stand-in villain that is just, if not worse, than fucking Voldemort. That really killed it. The actress absolutely demolishes it. She is the shining beacon in this movie of greatness. and she'll go on to demolish it as time goes on. What I wanted to say though, for the introduction to the Ministry of Magic in the books, I was in awe of it. In the movies, I am too. I just love the way that it looks. I love the way that they introduce it, and I fucking love the fact that they try to get there through Muggle means. And Arthur Weasley, it just kills me, man. he's like
First the
he's like a
subway and then the
child.
phone booth. Yeah.
He's like a child when they're trying to get there. Because
Shit like
like
that always
his,
gets me.
his character is in awe of like everything that the Muggles do, because a lot of it he's trying to make sense of from a magical standpoint. None of it really
Right.
makes sense, but he's like, oh my god,
Yeah, exactly.
he's like a kid in the
It's so
candy
good.
shop with it, and he plays it so well.
Fish out of water shit like that. I will always like. It's such an easy thing to write,
Yeah.
and it's it's easy to like execute. But man, you're right. Like he like knocks it out of the fucking park with that shit.
And they do such a good job of showing what would a fucking magical government look like. Perfect.
Yeah.
Is what that is. Exactly like you'd expect it to.
And
You know
the
what reminds me
and
of?
the explanation of the parchment paper flying to each office instead of using owls too. That fucking spot on.
I
Fucking
put a
genius.
I put a dated reference. I said, "Does anybody not know how to use a fucking Palm Pilot?"
Well, they don't have emails as wizards. What are you talking about?
God, fucking damn it. This is really fucking a specific dated reference. Star Trek: Next Generation. They look like Q.
Yeah. Everyone.
Like when Q was in his formal robes. That's what he thought. That's what everybody in the fucking like. That's what it looked like. And to Basement's point, it's fucking intimidating.
Yeah, well, he gets into that room and there's like 200 people, and him, like in this at this point in time
They
in
all
the
look like
story,
chess
at least,
pieces.
and the story at least, he's what 14 or 15 or something, and
Yeah.
right, and
Yeah,
like
around there,
Arthur Weasley's talking to him. He's like, I can't go in, so you go by yourself. Kid goes in there and it's a fucking room of 250 adults looking to fucking chew his ass out, and like I mean that to any kid, to anybody. That would be fucking intimidating, man.
Yeah,
By the way,
what I wish they would have done though, what they would have taken from the book was Dumbledore appearing and saying, "You know what? I've never been a fan of these chairs," and conjures up the most pillowiest, comfiest armchair, and then plops down and says, "Okay, Minister, you may continue." And then interrupting the minister every now and then as the minister continues with his speech. I wish they could have brought that into the movie. It's just that brings more to the quirks of the Dumbledore that I read in the book.
But it also showcases the fact that he's like so like laid back, but just ready, willing, and able to fucking drop the fattest dick on the table.
Yes.
You got style. So Dumbledore's role is so fucking different than almost anything we've seen. His characterization and his motives, to me anyway. I mean, not like so outlandish, but the point that I made was that I had a note here was Dumbledore is very disconnected for most of it, and we'll get to obviously why. He's very disconnected. He's very mysterious, but he like Basement can't get drops the fattest dick, and then just drop. I put mic drop on a bunch of different moments when he does it throughout the movie, but I found that so it adds to the mystery of what the fuck. Like, you know, I told you like there's always a mystery going on in the background. That just adds another layer to it.
There's one thing that J.K. Rowling does with Dumbledore that is always fascinating. You, as a reader or as a watcher, you never really know what the fuck he's doing.
Or thinking.
Or thinking. And that goes on for forever until the end of the whole series. When you're finally like... I love the fact that when all the cards are played out and you get to see Dumbledore for like who he is, and then when you rewatch, it's like, okay, I get it. I get why he's doing what he's doing. Yeah, because like you're always led to believe like he is like the biggest ally of Harry Potter and everything for Harry Potter's sake. And though it is true, it's not 100% true.
Well, this is kind of like a precursor to understanding Dumbledore on the grander scale of his entire series. Like this is kind of like a condensed version of it.
This is where you get like this is where you understand. I understand what he's doing but from like a humane point of view,
Yeah.
he's kind of in the wrong. Which is like you don't want that to be revealed for his character because everyone loves his character so much, and you don't really get it revealed until the very end of the whole show or the whole series, which is great. But this is definitely that like seed being planted for the viewer to be like, "What the fuck?"
So I said that Sirius was one of my 3 characters. Dumbledore is my second because of just the dropping the fattest. I'm not gonna stop using that phrase now, for God's sake. Just dropping the fattest dick until it's his own. Yeah, just the refreshing, like it feels almost like a complete pivot of the character, and it's intriguing.
I do love the fact too that they're laying the groundwork for the Ministry being, or specifically Cornelius Fudge being, convincing himself that shit hasn't hit the fan.
Yes.
Because if shit has hit the fan, then everything changes, and he can't deal with that. And in order to not deal with that, he lies to himself and makes machinations to lie to the entire public.
Well, there's also indications of Dolores Umbridge being in Cornelius's ear, feeding him that fear as well.
Cunt.
Yeah.
She is the perfect character, man. I will fucking gush about her character later on.
Yep.
As we get deeper into this, it's going to be fucking... The more and more we get into it, it's like, God, I want to strangle her, but I love her.
So for all you wrestling fans out there, I said this to Heather that she is the perfect heel. She is like in wrestling layman's, the heel's job is to rile you up to the point of being so pissed off that you are going to pay your hard-earned money to see the heel get their comeuppance and get the shit kicked out of them. And she fucking 120% delivers in this movie. And she's that third character that I was mentioning, the 3 that I enjoyed.
Why she's such a perfect heel is because she is she believes she is good, but at her core she is fucking rotten evil.
Yeah.
and like, I mean, how many times have you seen this in like reality? Where like, you know, not to this extent, but like, you know, they people that preach about doing all the good things present themselves like they are the good person.
Yeah.
And then like, meanwhile, their actions are all fucking horrendous
first
hate
name
crimes.
Wasn't Karen.
Yeah.
Oh man, she is like a trillion times worse than a Karen, man. She is fucking the Antichrist.
I mean,
in a pink dress.
Again, this movie proves that the casting crew for this whole series of movies just deserves a major standing ovation because they have knocked it out of the fucking park with every person they casted for this movie.
And one thing I will say, like, and this is why I'm comparing this movie to the last.
Yeah.
The last movie, I did feel times where the storyline dipped a bit, or at least the movie dipped a bit so that it felt a little like it dragged in times. This movie does not drag ever for me.
No.
It moves at a pace that works perfect. The pacing is perfect, but also like they move things forward quick enough. They have a certain level of montages that work very well to skip across scenes you don't really necessarily need to see.
Right.
But it does. It never loses a beat.
Yeah, and but then parts of this movie that are supposed to be the slow down points to get you to catch your breath and just process everything have you still so intrigued in the story that they don't feel like they're the slow parts.
And it's also the cast now. There's so many, like, we're looking at the Harry side of things. There's still the Voldemort side, and they showcase Voldemort enough and in interesting ways that it's like, okay, they showcase Voldemort through Harry's mind.
Yes.
Which is a great way to do it because they're portraying exactly what's happening with Harry and Voldemort, that connection. Mm-hmm. And then you have everything happening at the Ministry as well as what's happening at Hogwarts. So there's enough different storylines going that they all get their fair share of time. Nothing feels... I was never bored. I don't even... Like, this movie went by way quicker than any of the other ones for me.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing this popped in my head while we were just discussing this was, I think another big aspect of why I like this so much is that the dynamic of the relationship between the kids and the adults changed. And what I mean by that is Most of the time, it was Harry and friends are doing X. Voldemort's in the shadows, or something's going on that's nefarious, and the adults are kind of, juxtaposed with that. But they're always just like, oh, the teachers are just being the teachers. This time, the adults are fighting amongst each other.
Yeah.
And we've never really seen that prominently before. And so now it's a whole game of like, well, shit, what the fuck's going to happen now? And it just creates utter chaos. Well, not utter chaos, but more chaos between the characters.
You remember in the last movie, I was like, what the fuck? Why is like all the news was like, oh, this is what's happening at Hogwarts. And like, it was like a bit too much for me, like to have like all of the wizarding news be about Hogwarts. But in this one, it links together Hogwarts and the Ministry as like they're in tandem. So when the news highlights something at the Ministry, it highlights something at Hogwarts. It makes sense for the news to be focused on what's happening at Hogwarts because it's in direct relation to what's happening at the Ministry.
Propaganda,
it just makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
10 out of 10.
It's they did such a good job of the storytelling alone with this movie that there's not a complaint yet. And I will say, since we now know this woman, a little Easter egg about her, since she always wears pink, one thing you noticed about the movie, the darker color pink she wore, the more powerful she was.
Huh.
I also love the fact that they purposely shoot this movie pretty dark, and everybody else is in dark. That therefore, anytime you see her, it's like, oh, that fucking bitch. that one splatter of pink just stands out so much more.
And just as they mentioned in the book, that little.
Oh, that and the actress just fucking.
Oh.
Give her an award for God's.
She should have won an award for it.
I was saying to Heather, it's the same lines of what's his face who played John Walker in Falcon and Winter Soldier. They did such a good job of being a dick that he had so much international fucking hate.
Oh man, I love her.
Yep.
But
all right, moving on now.
You never know.
Moving on now with the story. One day during class, Harry is punished for claiming that Cedric Diggory was killed by Voldemort, which according to the Ministry's official policy is a lie. In Umbridge's office, Harry is forced to write "I must not tell lies" repeatedly as a punishment. I'm going to talk about this scene particularly right here soon. Excuse me. However, the sentence is magically imprinted on his hand instead causing scarring. Meanwhile, as Umbridge's control over the school increases, Ron and Hermione aid Harry in forming a secret defense group calling themselves Dumbledore's Army, or DA for short. Harry, Ron, and Hermione start teaching at Hogwarts, training students in defensive spells to become part of the army. Draco Malfoy and other Slytherin students are then recruited by Umbridge to try and uncover the secretive group, creating the Inquisitorial Squad. Meanwhile, Harry officially begins a relationship with Cho as they kiss one day after training. In an attempt to tighten her oppressive grip on Hogwarts, Umbridge dismisses Professor Sybil Trelawney and tries to have her banished from Hogwarts, which is only prevented after Dumbledore's intervention. We're going to pause it right there because that was a whole hell of a lot going on. That scene where he fights with her in the classroom and saying, "I'm not lying. Voldemort is back. We need to know how to defend ourselves out in the real world. And just reading the spells in a book is not going to do it." She mentions that you are only in school so that you can pass your owls, which is so symbolic of the actual school systems in America.
Mm-hmm.
The entire curriculum is based around state exams.
You're not here to learn anything unless it's what you need to pass this. It's like, okay.
Yes.
What about fucking life skills, you dumb bitch?
I really wish somebody would put a B in the front and be like, "We're only here to pass our bowels."
Which I did like 18 times the last couple days.
Does that mean
COVID,
I'm valedictorian?
But also this scene where he's actually in her office and she says, "You're not going to need your quill. just a piece of parchment. You're going to use my special quill. It's just, it shows, that's the first inkling of how sadistic and twisted this woman is.
Oh, yeah. So first off, I had a note here of when Harry, like, steps up and actually, like, argues with her.
Mm-hmm.
I said, ladies and gentlemen, I point to you the moment where Harry's balls just dropped.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. The fucking nads on him to, I mean, he wasn't even, like, half this fucking bold last year. And I'm like, oh, okay. But, yeah, that fucking dark joke.
Well, I mean, there's a couple, like, well, I mean, when it comes to, I think Harry is like a pressure cooker in this fucking thing because of all the shit that's gone down.
Like, he is about to pop at any fucking second if he doesn't get the frustration out somehow.
Yeah, because everyone's been like the thing is, before you always had like Hermione and Ron, and even them, they're like, well, they told us not to contact you, so now like nobody is really on his side, and he kind of feels fucking completely alone. We did skip by the introduction to Luna. Which is another great casting on them for her character.
Which this introduction of her, when you see them in the carriage, you see the turnip earrings she's wearing. The actress playing her actually made those earrings.
Oh,
the actress is it's a perfect casting for the character. Great introduction to the character. They introduced the Thestrals, the dead horses, or what they look like are dead horses.
That you can only see if you had seen somebody die.
Yeah,
so
which is it's a cool concept. I have one like nitpick later on, but it's neither here nor there. But like the yeah, it's pretty fucking wild.
Because even in the book, it says that, and Harry was like, but I thought they were always just carried by magic, not animals. What's going on here? Am I going crazy?
I did my time and I went out.
And this is why her character is so important in this movie. She's like the only one that kind of does relate, and she's like also a loner. Yeah. Where Harry is feeling like a loner because nobody really understands or relates to him, and everybody's kind of keeping him on the outskirts. Yeah. So it's a good way to introduce her and have her be, with a limited amount of time, have her be a very specific character instantly. Like, you get character development from her. I don't know exactly when this scene happened, but I feel like it happened before he started writing on his hand, or writing, that scene, when he fucking explodes on Dumbledore.
Oh yeah.
And they like takes him back to the room, and then he's like, oh, he's talking to the paintings, and he's like, go here, go there.
That was further. No, that was a little bit later on.
The scene you're talking about is after this. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the when she's like, after he gets angry with her, or like actually just speaks up in class, it's fucking crazy. Like, he goes into detention, right? And her room is like a bunch of fucking cat plates.
Yes, there's an important reason why that they're there, especially, and I'll point it out later on when we get to the scene later on in the movie, because there's a very important thing that if you don't pay attention, you miss it entirely. So continue.
Yeah, it's not only that, but her walls are pink. Mm-hmm. And he enters there, and it's like this sickly sweet, but
exactly how they describe it in the book too.
Yeah, it's like sickly sweet, but disgustingly sadistic woman. Like, it's those people that are terrible that try to hide it.
Yes.
And she doesn't. She hardly tries. But it's like, and it's like, I mean, as soon as like it dawns on the audience that he's writing and he's scarring his hand while doing it, it's like, okay, this is fucking definitely not a kid's story anymore.
And before you go, Connor, he actually ends up in several detentions with her throughout the book.
Yeah,
and he actually hides, because the scarring on his hand is not that evident at first. At first, it's just a little redness, and then it gets deeper, and then it gets deeper, and then it gets deeper, and he keeps trying to hide it from Hermione and Ron until finally Hermione spots it and sees it, and she's like, "Oh my God, you need to tell somebody."
That's the one thing that I get because time constraints they couldn't do.
Yes.
But I did feel the fast track nature of it because he starts writing and literally like it doesn't show it, but it feels like he's like 3 lines in and it's already scarred his hand, and that really doesn't work to the nature of like torture.
Yes.
That's one, and I know it's a misstep, but it's a forced misstep due to time constraint.
Yeah, I put the note here for the punishment of the hand. Tonight will be the night that I will die for you. I'm gonna go to hell. This just popped in my head too. So the color pink might actually be something deeper too. I could be reading this. I could be just be playing this my ass. In psychology, red is usually associated with what emotion?
Anger.
Right. But a lighter version of red is just pink. So it could be some sort of misnomer of, oh, pink is pretty and everything's fine and happy and peaceful. But when you look at it and it gets darker, truly rageful underneath all that pink.
Yeah. Because if you notice, by the end of the movie, she's almost wearing purple.
No kidding. Just fun little tidbit I just might have noticed.
Yeah.
I also love the fact that like Dumbledore's giving a speech, then you hear that.
Oh my god! After reading the book, and then seeing the movie for the first time and hearing that, it's like shut the fuck up.
I'm the type of person who doesn't fart. You know what I mean? Like she just does not fart. She doesn't. Nope, nothing. But she doesn't even shit either. Fucking cunt. Anyway.
Fuck her, non-shitting bitch.
Yeah. Alright, so continuing on with this story. Harry's nightmares continue, including a dangerous attack upon Arthur Weasley in the Department of Ministries involving Nagini, Lord Voldemort's snake, which happens to turn true. Harry's anger starts to get out of control as his mental connection to Voldemort grows stronger. It's an important thing to note as well. Fearing Voldemort will exploit his connection with Harry, Dumbledore immediately instructs Professor Snape to give Harry a crash course in occlumency lessons in an attempt to block Harry's mind from the Dark Lord's influence. We're going to pause it right there because this is the exact scene that you were talking about, Basement. He has a nightmare where Harry sees himself as Nagini. He's not floating above. He's not standing next to them. He is Nagini attacking Arthur. And it's at that time that he is now so confused about everything that is going on and what is happening to him that then Dumbledore, he's since constantly in the office going, what's happening? What are we doing? What is going on? And Dumbledore is just ignoring him, telling everybody in these paintings to go here and go there and get Arthur to safety, that Harry finally explodes and says, look at me! Which is huge, because even when Dumbledore first showed up at the court, you notice he never actually looked at Harry.
Yep. Did balls drop?
They do a better job in the book of stating that he always averts his glance, never like making eye contact and like treating him like he's not really there. Though his actions are protecting him and everything, it's like, what the fuck, man? Am I not a person? Because he always used to be like pretty. He always used to treat him like a kind of like not like a son, but like
yeah,
like a neighbor.
You know what I mean, right?
A neighbor or a nephew, yeah.
Some
sort of like child close to him.
Now he's like the redheaded stepchild and won't even be looked at.
That's wrong.
But when Harry explodes like that, right? And then they cut to a great shot of Dumbledore like looking at him bewildered.
Yeah.
And Harry is like, I don't know if it was just me, but Harry's face looked like his like fucking lips went back, and I'm like, man, he kind of looks like a little bit like Voldemort. And I, because he's so fucking white in the scene.
Yes.
And his like upper lip goes back like a fucking snake. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That might have been on purpose, and that was something I noticed that too. Is that again, it goes back to the whole like Harry looks kind of fucked up throughout this movie.
Yes, because again, not to cut you off, but real quick, again, as I said, to note this part, fear, the connection between Voldemort and Harry growing stronger. It's literally because Voldemort is getting closer and closer and closer to actually actually connecting their minds together.
Well, they do show, and it's a gradual progression, and I love that the movie does this. Anytime that Harry Potter sees, like in his own mind, he sees Voldemort. Voldemort is getting more and more into like looking like a person, not facially, but he starts off seeing him by the train station in like a suit,
a 3-piece all black suit, which is fucking spectacular.
and then like he slowly starts to like get into Harry Potter's clothes. So it's like the way that it shows the connection is really well done visually that they do. I love the fact that he doesn't even fucking acknowledge it, and he's like, "Now's the time, Snape. Take him down below." And he just drags his fucking soaking wet ass down to the fucking chambers, and he's like, "This is what we're gonna learn now."
Well, it's interesting. What I noted here was that, like, it's tension building between Dumbledore and Harry, but instead of it being like this whole like look at me, and then the bending starts to happen, it's like Snape, take him away.
Yeah.
Which,
but also like that scene
it.
for Daniel Radcliffe, who fucking killed it, man.
Yes, oh, God, and what I was gonna say was that he noted like. If you look at his expression in his face, he looks like he was like
he was ready to attack Dumbledore.
He had COVID. That's what it was. He had fucking COVID. No, he looked like pale, sweating. He was like angry, confused.
He's kind of scared. He's kind of like in shock that he spoke out like that to him at the same time.
I think they both were.
Yeah, they were.
You know what I mean? So good shit.
Yeah, this furthers both of your points with Daniel Radcliffe, with this movie being him being the shining star over Hermione Granger. However, I also think Neville Longbottom, and the actor who played him, has come leagues from where he started.
This is a little while back, and just something I just really wanted to make a note here. Remember how, like, before, obviously, there was a little bit of mix between Ron and Harry about, like, we're friends, we're not, we're friends, we're not.
Uh-huh.
Something about when one of the kids challenged Harry.
I have that on here too.
Where like Ron
Seamus,
is like,
Seamus said my mom wasn't gonna let me come this year.
Yeah, it's like, well, you stupid mom. And it's like, anyone else got a problem with Harry? I'm like, fucking right.
Yeah, man, Ron's a real one.
Yep, he is.
All right, moving on.
Fuck them all. Okay.
Oh, this is also.
Sorry, I did want to say the occlumency lesson. I remember in the books it being super intriguing, and even in the movies, I love how they like showcase exactly what he's seeing, and then they kind of transpose Snape into that memory.
Yeah.
Every now and then, which is great.
You're not trying hard enough, Potter.
What? He didn't teach him anything. He's like strengthening him.
He just straight into casting the spell on him and saying, "Protect yourself." How the fuck is he going to do that?
Do I clench? Like, what do I do? Like, do I like eat like Raisin Bran? I don't fucking know what you want me to do.
Resist.
Yeah. We also at the beginning of the movie we find out that Hagrid is not at the school. He's away on a mission. So, but continuing on.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Bellatrix Lestrange escapes from Azkaban along with other Death Eaters after one of the prison walls is damaged by lightning flashes. At Hogwarts, Umbridge, Filch, and her loyal Inquisitorial squad... I gotta talk about this, because I fucking peed my pants at these scenes.
Yeah, it's
Undercover Dumbledore's army... After interrogating one of the students, Cho Chang, which in the book it was Katie Bell, for whom Harry had developed intense feelings, Dumbledore is questioned and makes an impressive escape as Fudge orders his arrest. With Dumbledore gone, Umbridge becomes the new headmistress, and her sinister dominance over the school continues. Later, Hagrid introduces Harry, Ron, and Hermione to his half-brother, Giant Grop. Sorry. Later, Harry reverses Snape's spell by glimpsing into Snape's mind. It is then that Harry learns that Harry's father used to bully Snape when they were students at Hogwarts, which appears to be the real cause behind Snape's resentment towards Harry. Meanwhile, the Weasley twins, Fred and George, formulate a plan of their own. We're going to pause it there because these scenes here of Filch sitting outside the room of requirement, both eating a sandwich and then getting the box of chocolates. And
Good shit. Good shit.
I'm telling you, Filch is incredible.
Yeah, the montage for it is fucking absolutely great. But I love the fact that they stayed true to the book, and it was Neville who found the room of requirement and nobody else.
Yep.
Yeah, this is important. It's an important showcase for Neville. It's something that was heavily needed. He's always been featured as like, the loser, the butt into the jokes.
Yeah.
This is like a turning point for Neville's character that's like so important for where they go
Crossing
with him.
that off my list of notes. Yes, continue.
The whole montage of Dolores Umbridge cleaning up the school is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
She she's like she talks to Professor Trelawney about her doing nothing. And then she fucking measures the midget.
I fucking died laughing at that part. It's like, he's teaching choir. What the fuck can he do wrong with that? And then she pulls out the tape measure. It's like, motherfucker.
I know it seems AP couldn't watch.
Actually, he doesn't mind. He doesn't mind that scene.
That was fucking great.
I had a note here. First off, Helena Bonham Carter. I will never get sick of her.
So did you know, I saw this in the IMDb trivia, that she was originally not cast to play Bellatrix Lestrange. It was the woman that ends up playing Malfoy's mom.
Narcissa, yeah.
But she was pregnant and couldn't do the role.
So
what a win, to be honest. It's like perfect casting for Bellatrix Lestrange.
Which when I first heard that too, I was completely shocked because seeing how well Helena Bonham Carter does as Bellatrix, and then seeing Malfoy's mom and how she.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
No, I couldn't picture anybody else, and it's another fucking end of the park hit for casting.
Yeah,
I said Sweeney Todd meets Alice in Wonderland Queen combined into one.
But she's such a perfect mix of fucking creepy.
Oh yes, especially when we first see her and she's fucking
deranged,
and she's coming out and then that fucking laugh. She nails the laugh. Oh my god.
Yep. So I said perfect casting choice on that one. The Inquisitorial Squad had me chuckling.
God. They were the fucking Scooby-Doo crew with Filch.
They were. Fucking peering around the corner in a tear. Fucking great shit.
We didn't get a lot of Draco Malfoy in this movie, which is fine because we got him in this, which I just thought was like a very little like, I mean, obviously, next time.
Yeah, the next movie.
Next time on the Scooby-Doo gang, we'll have a lot more of him, but. Just interesting to know that he wasn't really focused that much in this one. But Dumbledore's escape.
Fucking
say we will.
Genius.
He's got style. And I'm like, yes, he fucking does. To clap his hands.
I love when he was like, you're under assumptions that I'm going to be going. That's okay.
You're under the assumption that I am going to be going, as you call it, peacefully.
Going quietly. I have no intention of going quietly.
Fattest dick.
Winking nowhere near Harry and then disappearing.
I love that despite the fact that he's been trying to disconnect himself from Harry the entire fucking school year, he instantly just went with the cover. Because he had no idea this was going on. He had no idea they were using the Room of Requirement to study Defense Against the Dark Arts the proper way. And for the list to show up in his hands and then him being arrested for it and Harry's sitting there trying to save him and saying, no, this was my idea. This is all mine. And Dumbledore's sitting there going, it's very nice of you, Harry, but as the parchment says, Dumbledore's army, not Harry's army.
AKA, duh.
In
other words, shut your fucking mouth.
I half expected fucking Chow Chang to go swinging from the rafters. She like honestly, she was like depressed the whole fucking movie, and then it's like they turned her into a fucking rat, and everybody hated her. I'm like, man, this is a recipe for self-deletion.
Yes, but like I said, in the book, it was not Cho Chang. It was actually Katie Bell who gave it up, and it wasn't through Dolores using the Veritas serum in a cup of tea interrogating the students. Within the book, Hermione had actually put a curse on the list, on the parchment that people had signed. I remember
that, yeah.
And so if anybody had told about what they were doing, they would end up breaking out in the pustulous balls and pimples that Filch ended up getting from the twins' box of chocolates.
I love how they cut to fucking Filch and zoom up at his face and it just pops.
I'm like, why was Umbridge pissed about that?
Because he would have to go to the infirmary and stop his investigation into where these students are going.
I get it. Just it's one of those things. Like she's like, "Oh, thwarted again." How? It didn't stop him from staying in. Fucking anyway. I'm just nitpicking. Grop.
I did not care for this character in the books. He was a misstep for me in the books, and in the movie, he is also a misstep.
Yes.
Ron trying to hit him with a stick, fucking hilarious. Don't give a shit. Something about that was really fucking fun to me. I'm also very tired. Harry reversing Snape's spell and glimpsing into his mind.
That was great.
And having that little mind fuckery for him to, my father was a great man, but a shitty kid.
in general, the idea of using that as a storytelling device is brilliant.
It is. It does two things. It creates a different outlook at Snape, because up until this point, people have had their suspicions about Snape, but we've never really seen him outside of him being kind of like a fucking asshole.
Right.
We've seen like suspicious things, but nothing concrete. Yeah.
And you finally get like a bit of backstory for him, but it does an amazing thing, and it shows two sides to Harry Potter's dad, who at this point in time we don't know much about, except for the fact that everybody kind of liked him, and he was supposed to be this star student, star Quidditch player, and fucking fighting against Voldemort. He was like the prototypical hero, and then you look at the past, and he was kind of a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and Harry gets to see it, which is super important, because he gets to see that
his dad was not always the greatest of people.
Exactly.
The other reason I like that too is because it's another shade of gray.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, and this just shows the maturity of like the storytelling and what's going on next, is that it's like, and even actually Sirius Black said it too, because there's not good guys and bad guys when he has to talk with Harry later, but like the idea of like there are shades of gray, and just something like a little notion of that. It's like James Potter was not a perfect dad. He's not a perfect person. He was a dick to Snape, and then ergo all these things happen as a result of it. And it just it's little shit like that which makes me appreciate Snape's arc when we'll talk obviously a lot more in the next couple of
all the way up to the last movie.
But this helps with where Harry Potter mindset is in this movie. Of him like not being sure of anything and being a loner, and the things that he was sure of. This is one of the last things I think he was sure of. He's not sure of anymore either. So it's like everything is up in the air for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we get into one of my favorite parts of the movie, because the fucking twins are my fucking heroes. Don't give a shit. No, Neville's great, Harry, all that. No, the twins, I fucking love them because.
Which is the start of the next paragraph. I know the scene you're talking about. It's coming up real quick.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say is leading into it is I love the line that they say right before this next part happens. They go, Fred and I were talking. We think our talents lie beyond that of the academic.
I know. He's like, you're thinking what I'm thinking? Exactly. Fuck this shit. We're out.
And then on that note, I'll let Heather continue, and I will be quickly right back.
Uh-huh. During an owl exam, the Weasley twins execute their plan, launching a firework display in the Great Hall, causing chaos for Umbridge, Fudge, and the students of Slytherin House. Which is, the display they let off is fucking beautiful. As the students cheer joyously outside, Harry suffers a vision of Sirius trapped within the bowels of the Ministry, being interrogated about the Order. Actually, he's being interrogated about the prophecy, but we'll get there when we get there. Harry, Ron, and Hermione rush to search for Sirius, but Umbridge, soon after, catches the trio attempting to use the Flu Network and begins interrogating Harry. She calls for Professor Snape to bring Veritas Serum for use during her interrogation, as she has for all of her previous interrogations, but Snape tells her that the supply has been exhausted. Hermione then tricks Umbridge into entering the Forbidden Forest along with Harry and her in search of a faux weapon, really leading her into the hiding place of Grop, who has since freed himself from the tree he was latched to, when a herd of centaurs who have their own issues with the Ministry emerge and carry the headmistress into the darkness. Hermione and Harry head back to Hogwarts to find Ron and other DA members, Luna Lovegood, Neville Longbottom, and Ginny Weasley. The group decided to fly to London by way of the Thestrals, winged horse-like magical creatures, to the Department of Mysteries of London City in an attempt to save Sirius. We're going to pause that there. Because leading up to this, they're all having a grand old time, extremely happy that the twins have broken up this case of the owls, getting this great fireworks display, and then Harry collapses in the middle of all of it. Now, what I was going to bring up is once they get into the office, because they got to use the Flu Network, and the only Flu Network that is not being monitored is Umbridge's own Flu. Excuse me. So Harry makes the brilliant plan to go to her office and use hers to try and connect with Sirius. As soon as they get into the office, if you look up on the wall behind them, you see one of the cats exit out of a pet door just before Harry, Ron, and Hermione make it over to the fireplace. That cat left to alert Umbridge that somebody that was not her and not part of her authorized team was in her office, and that's how she was able to get there so quick. So that's what I'm saying. If you're not paying attention, you miss these tiny little fucking details that are fucking brilliant to put in.
That's why I love the just the paintings and stuff in general, because they're used in such a spy network type way, I guess.
Yeah, it's really amazing how they use just the background scenery for these movies in every one that they do. Excuse me. I
do love the fact. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, with this, it skips over the fact that she was about to use one of the forbidden curses on a student.
Yeah.
To get answers. It's just like, this woman is just no trial. Just send her straight to Azkaban or fucking kill her.
And she's like, but Cornelius won't hurt him, and she puts his picture down. It's like, okay, she's a fucking devil. I do love, this like is the other thing I want to say with why the pacing of this movie is so good, because you get the whole blow off with the owls, right?
Yep.
And before you get like a moment to breathe, Harry's already on the ground. Mm-hmm. And it keeps moving forward. They're like, okay, now the next thing is already in place. Before like the full breath of the owls being blown off can be taken in, the next storyline is already kicking off, right?
Yeah.
And then the obviously it's like a planted image of Sirius Black being tortured or whatever, which leads them to go to the office, and then that leads to the next scene where she's about to use the Cruciatus curse on Harry, which then leads to them going out into the one gripe I have is why she went alone with them out into the forest.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but it's such a small fucking gripe that I'm not gonna really harp on it. So they go out into the forest. I fucking Groppy and shit is there, but again, you get another fucking look at how disgusting of a person she is when she's like, you subhuman intelligence fucking creatures talking to the centaurs, and she almost kills one of them.
Yeah.
She strangles him to the ground. Hermione's like, let him go, he can't breathe, and she's like, I don't give a shit. Fuck, which leads to another great scene where they capture her and she's like, "Tell them to stop me." I cannot tell lies. And she
Exactly.
just gets
Oh my god,
fucking
him
carted
shooting
off.
that right back in her face, and she's like, yes!
And she gets carted off into the darkness. Again, this is the she's the B plot,
Yes.
but the B plot is so good it might as well be the A plot.
Yeah.
But getting that all wrapped up in a bow before the last 20-30 minutes of the movie is perfect, because now we get into the final meat and potatoes of where they want to go. This I also was kind of, I guess it would make sense. I was thinking, why didn't they just go back and use the flu powder? But if she has fucking sentry cats, who knows who they might alert if they go back to try to use it, right?
Exactly.
So grabbing the Thestrals to fly makes sense. To go to London, to go to the Ministry, which the last 30 minutes of this movie are by far my favorite. They are so fucking
epic
good.
Fight scene you will ever see in any movie, in my opinion.
they are so fucking good. But we'll wait for Connor to get back because he hasn't really put his
we'll
2
wait
cents
for him
in.
to get back for that part. But another reason they couldn't go back to the office is because Draco Malfoy and his 2 goons plus Filch would be back there after getting their treats, or realizing there were no treats. So they wouldn't have been able to go back to the office anyway. But I do love that Ron Hermione turns to Ron and says, "How did you guys escape?" And Ron goes, "They told Crab and Goyle there were treats down in the kitchen, and they buggered off to go get them." And Hermione sat there and was like, "Brilliant." And Ron's like, "Well, it happens sometimes."
But yeah, they do a good job of showcasing this again. Though the movies at times do run a bit dirty, I didn't like Ron in the last movie.
No.
And he was better in the book.
Mm-hmm.
They just, the last movie they really kind of did him wrong. This movie they do him a lot better, and I feel like they do both him and Hermione equally well.
Right.
I like when Harry should be number 1.
Yeah.
And then Ron and Hermione should be balanced as both B members. Too often they put Hermione up almost to Harry level.
Yeah.
And Ron down to fucking dirt.
Harry level. Your words, not mine.
So yes,
we were talking about
input.
The twins exploding the fireworks, and then Umbridge trying to use the unforgivable curse of Cruciatus on a student.
So, the reason I like the move of the twins being disrupting the owl exams is because they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's the final act. It's their final act of defiance, and it's something about the act itself wouldn't have been that. Would have been okay, it's just them being them. But it's the fact that they said the line right before the scene where it's we always did think our purpose lied beyond that of the academic, where it's just fuck yeah, we're out of here anyway. We're just, I don't know. I love the twins. There's nothing the twins have done that have not made me happy or has not disappointed me.
It's also it's not like it's out of nowhere. The whole fucking series has led to them being yeah, they were troublemakers, but they always dabbled in that joke magic and shit like that. And they hammer it home in this movie when the Weasley products they're testing on kids, and then they're
right at the start of the school season. Yep.
She bans all the products, and then when they get to her, when they try to use the flu network, you can see a bunch of the Weasley boxes in the thing that she's confiscated.
I did note that there was. I did note there was also a specific sign that said there are no Weasley products to be allowed in this school.
Yeah.
I think it was the second rule or something like that.
Did you also hear the explanation of what I was talking about in the background? Is that if you weren't paying attention, you would have missed it with this scene?
With what the flu? Them being him being interrogated, or
no? When they first go into Umbridge's office after Harry has his vision of Sirius being captured and tortured, if you look on the wall, one of the cats meows and then turns and goes through a pet door and disappears. And then you notice seconds later, Umbridge is in the office.
Smart cat. Very smart cat. So the Cruciatus curse, right?
Yep.
I think I missed something here. So what was the part where like I mean you can't really say I'm surprised she fucking slaps Harry
Oh,
like
that was deadly.
in front of everybody. I'm like, what the okay, like clearly she's also on the same level of the twins of I don't give a fuck. Time to YOLO out of here. But I missed the part where like Hermione was trying to say something and then like trying to warn Snape or like saying something to Snape and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I
Oh,
missed
yes,
that. I'll
yes,
be very
yes.
honest.
Yeah, that part. Hermione. Snape was brought in to give Dolores the Veritas serum, which is a truth serum. And when he was about to leave, Harry turned to Snape and said, "They have Padfoot. They have Padfoot in the place where it is hidden." Meaning that Sirius has been captured and he's being held in the place where
The
whatever it
Department of
is that they're looking
Mysteries.
for is hidden.
Oh, okay.
He tries to hint off the order that because I'm not going to make it, someone go save this guy.
Right.
Oh, okay. Now, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I thought it was some sort of code. I'm like, I'm missing something here. Turn to page 394.
Yeah. It was code to keep Umbridge out of the loop, and since, as we know, Snape is part of the Order of the Phoenix, he would know
Yes.
what Padfoot means, who Padfoot is.
Yes. Yeah. But I also did love how he's like, you've used all the Veritas serum.
Unless you wish to poison them, I can be of no help.
I would be personally obliged. And then fucking Hermione, clever girl.
Yeah.
I think it was like the only reason they introduced Grop was for this.
Fucking drop.
Cool. Okay.
It really was, because even in the book, he wasn't really mentioned a bunch, so.
No, he was trash.
Exactly.
Well, he was a half brother.
But I said to Heather, like, it didn't really make sense that she went with them alone to the forest.
Into the forest. Two students that want her gone to begin with, and
well,
she
figured less witnesses. I don't fucking know. Anyway, ding dong witches.
How'd you like that fucking dropping that line, Harry?
Oh, I will not tell any lie. I fucking wrote that down. I'm like,
I know, and she gets fucking carried off into the darkness.
So good.
I also said, like, this is a great way to, like, wrap up her storyline before they wrap up the actual storyline, the main storyline.
Mm-hmm.
There's just, like, there's no missing of beats in this. It just continuously kept my attention throughout the entire movie.
I kept saying in several notes here, well-paced, 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 because it is. It's everything moves along at just the right, including Umbridge being carried off in the fucking forest.
Yeah, after she almost strangles one of them to death. Excuse me. All right, moving on here. Moving right along. The six enter the Department of Mysteries, where they uncover a prophecy involving Harry and Voldemort, but are soon ambushed by the Death Eaters, including Lucius Malfoy and Bellatrix Lestrange, Sirius's deranged cousin. Deranged ain't the word for it. After a brief battle and a failed escape attempt, the Death Eaters manage to take Ron, Hermione, Luna, Neville, and Ginny as hostages, threatening to kill them if Harry does not hand over the prophecy. Sirius appears with the other members of the Order of the Phoenix and attacks the Death Eaters, causing Lucius to drop the prophecy, which then shatters. A battle erupts as the Death Eaters try to stop the students from escaping, resulting in Sirius's death at Bellatrix's hands.
There we go. Nailed it. You landed it.
Yeah. Back in the atrium, Harry corners Bellatrix, where he struggles with his desire to enact the Cruciatus curse. Voldemort himself appears, ready to kill Harry, when Dumbledore emerges to face his battle against Voldemort. We're going to pause it there because this right here is what I was referencing earlier on. But the book, I wish they had the time. This is another one just for this section of the book. This is another one where I wish they had split this movie into two parts so that they would have had the time just for this. Because in the book, they go through a maze of rooms where they see these brains that look like jellyfish that almost kill them after hypnotizing them. They go into a room that's like an endless pit. They have a room full of clocks that they don't understand what's going on, and it's just like,
This is the maze from the last one.
yes.
Yep.
They really cut down on it.
Yep.
That being said, though, when they get to the room with all the prophecies, visually, I loved it. Again, one thing that this movie did fabulously and rectified what the last movie didn't do well, the Death Eaters. Visually, way better. The fucking look with the masks, much better than the fucking Ku Klux Klan hats.
Yes.
And I mean, if you were like a young kid watching this, you'd be pretty fucking scared, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The way those fucking things look in the darkness.
I also love the smoke that goes with them.
Yeah, when they arrive. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it adds to the sinister feel of all the Death Eaters.
But I love how it's not just like we're gonna look cool. They also use it as a means to like de-wand the kids.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I would have been like pissed off if they didn't show like the training montage, the kids actually like learning how to use their spells properly, because if you're thinking, okay, the way I look at it is, they're just like, if it was just kids at school or whatever, yes, they have learned the spells, but they haven't learned to practice them in an environment that makes like sense. Mm-hmm. They get like actual combat training through Harry, where it's like believable that they could maybe fight to survive, at least against these guys. And it's good that they actually end up losing, because it would be kind of bullshit if they didn't get captured. But I love the visuals of the little fight that goes on in that room with all the
kids against the Death Eaters.
Yeah.
What I love though is when Sirius shows up and he gets face to face with Lucius, and he sits there and says, "Get away from my godson," and punches him in the face. It's like that right there. That is the biggest insult to Lucius Malfoy. Any number of spells Sirius could have casted at this motherfucker. He decided to take the Muggle route. The most disgusting route to Lucius Malfoy. And attacked him with it. It's like, fucking love it.
He'll pay off. It's the same thing like with Umbridge with the fucking the fireworks shit. It's the exact same beautiful that's missed.
And there's something that happens in that scene that really like helps with the character development for Sirius Black, and it shows just so Sirius was in jail for fucking Sirius was in jail for like ever, right?
Yes.
What?
Which I realized I never explained.
Fucking dies.
Yeah. I realized though with Prisoner of Azkaban, I never explained how he escaped. In the book, it tells you he got to the point where he just didn't care anymore, so he changed into his animagus form and became a dog and just laid there as a dog, which the Dementors didn't even realize he was there. And the doors at Azkaban are never actually locked because the Dementors are there to keep all the prisoners there.
That seems like a massive
oversight.
It is a massive oversight, especially when you have an animagus, and animals don't feel emotions in the same way that humans do. And Dementors only notice human emotions, not animal emotions.
It took me 50 years to escape. Why? My animagus was a snap-up turtle.
No, but the one thing that I think the books do a lot better with Sirius Black is they show the fact that his life pretty much ended when he went to Azkaban, the life that he knew was that of him being with like his main friends and fighting alongside them or being whatever. So like when he gets in that fight with Lucius and he calls Harry James, it's such a like good kickback to the fact that he never really fucking grew past that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And he doesn't really look at Harry the way that I think Harry thinks.
Yeah,
like he very much thinks of him as his dad, and then he gets obliterated.
Well, it's evident with him trying to have them tell him more about the Order of the Phoenix that he would be more enticed to join, because he doesn't look at him as Harry, he looks at him as James.
Yeah.
What I'm going to say It sounds really fucking mean. So bear with me here.
Uh-huh.
Sirius's death is the best thing in this movie. And I say that because of the impact it has on Harry.
Yeah, it's the most impactful death in the series up to this point. Because Cedric Diggory, who gives a fuck, really, right?
He's
It's
just
like
a friend at school, yeah. Sirius was literally the last living family member he had.
They
aside
did
from
what
the
they
Dursleys.
could with Cedric Diggory. I wish, like, we talked about this. It's like, man, if only he was there for like a movie before, or
Yeah,
where Sirius now we have someone has a strong connection with Harry. That is a connection not only with Harry, but it's his connection to his family and his past, and gets destroyed, and Harry loses fucking everything at that point.
Which also, this is the moment where Daniel Radcliffe is not acting. When they show, after he does those quick little no, and he lets out that yell, that was him letting go the grief for his grandmother who had died that very morning.
Tell you, man, Daniel Radcliffe killed it this movie.
No kidding. But I say, like I said, I try to say that without like sounding like a dick.
No, because it makes perfect sense for what's going on in the movie and where Harry mentally and emotionally has to go eventually.
I love how this is followed by him chasing Bellatrix Lestrange and trying to fucking crucify her.
He does. He knocks her down with the Cruciatus Curse.
He knocks her down, but
it's not strong enough because he doesn't have enough intention behind it.
Yeah. It's like, you have to mean it, Harry. And it's like, damn.
So I almost did. So why so serious, Harry? Get it. So about his death, though. This is when, like, Harry, like, at this point in, like, the whole story overall, right, with everything beforehand, Harry is starting to really feel the semblance of togetherness, a family, a group of people who care about him. He's starting to get that like the actual familial like feel with the magic people in his life. And Sirius is the closest thing to family that he has. So it's one of those situations of everything's going in the right direction, and then the fucking rug is swept out from underneath them. Yeah. Of course, it's Bellatrix that does it. Fucking great. I wouldn't have picked anybody else to have done it.
It's another way. Like, the thing is, they do a great job of, they created this villain in Umbridge. They had her be the villain for most of the movie. They got her out of the way. Now they're laying the seeds for another like B-level villain in Bellatrix Lestrange, while still keeping the big bad in Voldemort. They continually introduce somebody that is still it's not always just Voldemort, which is so useful. Like, they have Lucius, they have Bellatrix, and there's weight to it because of what she's done. Yes.
And then, of course, with all this going on, you have the "Here comes Big Daddy."
I needed fucking WrestleMania.
The fucking entrance of Dumbledore.
No chance.
This fucking WrestleMania main event coming in.
Yes, and as I mentioned earlier, the most epic fight scene you see in a movie happens right fucking here. The CGI in this made Marvel look like first grade work.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Particularly, I love when, and just on a quick side note, and I'll let Basement go, is when Voldemort transforms into the fireball. Something about that particular part of the fight was really, like, just visually intriguing.
The entire fight, I remember, because I saw this movie in theaters, right? I remember, like, I went and I was discussing with my sister afterwards, because she was a huge Harry Potter fan. And I'm like, man, this is that moment when you finally get to see the difference between the young kids fighting with magic and what a full-on major A-class wizard fight looks like. Yep. And it's nowhere close.
Oh my god, it is epic upon fucking epic. I mean, and we don't know this yet at this point in the series, but this is Dumbledore using the Elder Wand, no less.
Yeah,
So it's the most
fucking-
powerful wand with the most powerful wizard on the fucking planet against the most powerful dark wizard, and it's just like, holy fuck, man.
Yeah, this
And
isn't
I love the fact that all of Dumbledore's spells are defensive.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I didn't even catch that. Good fucking point. I was gonna say this isn't Voldemort as a fart cloud going through a fucking.
No,
Harry
this
as
is
a kid
legit.
anymore.
No,
This
yeah.
is legit.
Yeah, and it's not just defensive for him. He
No, he's
also
defending
is defending
Harry.
Harry at the same time. So it's like,
Yeah.
you don't fuck with this dude, man.
I did
And
laugh at,
also, with every spell that is cast, not a single word is spoken.
good point. I also did chuckle a little bit at like Voldemort's attacking, like he's fighting Dumbledore, but he's also doing like the little like trying to get Harry on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like mind bending him.
Quit it. No, the little flick of his wand. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, fucking yeah. Oh,
Continuing
good
on,
shit.
because the fight continues on into the next one, too. A brief but furious duel. Brief but furious? That did not feel like a brief fight. Holy fuck, man.
No.
A brief but furious duel between Voldemort and Dumbledore takes place, in which Bellatrix escapes through the Flu Network. When Voldemort disappears, the battle seems over. Harry suddenly finds himself possessed by Voldemort, recalling images of his past, of his family and his friends, but throws off Voldemort's influence, stating that he is stronger than Voldemort through his friends and his ability to love. Ministry officials, including Fudge, hastily arrive via the Flu Network moments before Voldemort disappears. I'm just going to finish off with this because this is basically the end of the movie.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of the battle, the Ministry is forced to end their smear campaign and Umbridge is removed from Hogwarts, awaiting a formal investigation. Dumbledore explains that he had attempted to distance himself from Harry all year, hoping it would lessen the risk of Voldemort discovering and using the connection between the two. While the students head home from Hogwarts at the end of the academic year, Harry tells his friends that they have one thing Voldemort does not have. Love, a power worth fighting for. That's not what he says, but close enough. It's at this moment when Fudge comes through the Flu Network and he's just, oh, why am I here? It's so late. Oh my god, he's back!
That was genius. I think that was a genius way to do that. The only part of me wishes the whole idea of them smearing Harry lasted until the next movie, which is a little bit longer. But either way, I think the way of like Fudge seeing like Voldemort, can't say in the flesh, but in the powder and the I don't fucking glass, whatever fucking element he was, I thought was genius. Like he's just seeing him as he leaves, like shit. Clear of all charges.
No, it was a great way to like make it known, and there's only one way to do it, and it's great that it happened. Like it could have happened anywhere, but this is the perfect place for it to happen on his own fucking grounds, the Ministry
Yeah.
of Magic.
Exactly.
I just shot in your urinal. Imagine fucking blew up his bathroom.
That is something Voldemort would do.
Oh shit, it's tree of magic.
Especially considering the guy playing him, Ralph Fiennes, is a fucking practical joker on set, so...
Fantastic. You're an inanimate fucking object.
Yeah, it's... Again, the ending to this, and Fudge seeing it, and we get the newspaper articles as the ending until Harry actually gets to meet up with Dumbledore in his office at the end of the school year. I don't know if Fudge would have ever believed that Voldemort was back if he hadn't actually seen him with his own eyes.
And that's why I love the ending.
Right.
Well, that part anyway.
Right. Especially with Dolores Umbridge being in his ear constantly. And I have a feeling that she was using a curse on Cornelius to influence him more, because we see her again later on in other movies, and certain connections there with the Dark Lord show up as well. So
Hard to see with the company, right?
yeah. with her there, it would have just kept feeding it and feeding it and feeding it and feeding it and feeding it, and things just would have gotten worse and worse and worse until Voldemort basically sat as the Minister of Magic himself. But how you doing, Kratos? Yes, I did see that video too. The punch, the serious black punch. But also in that scene, you notice he go that little part towards Lucius. It's just like another subliminal message there, because every Italian on the planet knows what that means.
So there is one thing I did have a question about, and I will admit this does go into spoiler territory of future stuff. So, warning ahead, and I know I'm a little out of order here, and I don't know as much about towards the very end. And so the next movie and the last ones, that's where I started getting not as I remember everything. So the prophecy was that one must live in the order for the other. One must die for the other to survive, or something along those lines. Basically, implying
neither can live if one survives.
So implying that Harry and Voldemort cannot
survive in the same universe, essentially. Yes.
Okay. That is confusing, knowing what's coming down the pipeline. I don't understand that, given.
As far as what exactly? Dumbledore's side or Harry's side?
Harry's.
Well, why is it confusing?
So, I was under the impression that because Harry is technically a Horcrux. I'm trying not to do spoilers.
It's fine.
It's a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I know he wasn't intentionally created like that. So why would Harry's existence need to end?
Because as you notice, they have to destroy each one, so that because that way he can never come back. If Harry survived and they killed off Voldemort, they could still bring him back using Harry.
So part of Voldemort's soul is in Harry.
Yes.
Correct. So why would Voldemort want to kill Harry then?
Voldemort doesn't know.
He doesn't.
That part of his soul. He's like a mistakenly made Horcrux. And I think I think the prophecy is supposed to kind of hint towards the fact that if Voldemort was to know it, then he might get an inkling that that is the case, where he never gets to find that out.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. Okay, that if he doesn't know. Okay, that makes.
Yeah, he never gets the prophecy, right? Harry learns it, and then Lucius Malfoy drops it. It explodes.
Right.
Well, no, I just wasn't sure. I get why Harry would do it. I understand that completely, but I wasn't sure why Voldemort would. If his indication would be I want to live forever, and that makes infinitely more sense then. Okay, cool.
I mean, right now, Voldemort wants to kill Harry because he killed him as a baby, so he wants that revenge right there and then.
And it's his only mistake as far as he's
right.
concerned.
Exactly. Yeah. But getting back now to the end of this movie, it's the conversation that Dumbledore had. Dumbledore. Wow, that's a new one for me, folks. The conversation Dumbledore has with Harry at the end of this movie is what really makes me sit there and go, "You're a fucking dumbass, Dumbledore." Because if him separating himself from Harry the whole year, knowing the trauma that Harry went through, not only at the end of the school year the year before, but also the whole fucking summer, and not having his friends to talk to, not having him to talk to, getting no word whatsoever from the magical community, point blank, period. That alone is enough to weaken anybody's mind.
But the thing is, like, I think it goes like as time goes on, we learn Dumbledore doesn't necessarily get human emotions that well. Like he
No, he does
doesn't really
not.
like he's wise and everything, but he's like separated from humanity, which
Yeah.
you don't think but you don't get until like close to the end of the whole series.
Yeah.
Especially when they had that conversation with his brother, and his brother kind of is like, "You don't know this man at all,"
Yeah.
which is one of my fucking favorite things in this whole book series.
So, Dumbledore is the stupidest, smartest wizard I've ever. It is.
He's like how it goes with like any like extreme intelligence. People like that usually aren't
a lack of
in tune
emotional
with
intelligence.
they don't
Yeah.
usually have the emotional depth.
But on top of that, even just looking at it from a logical standpoint of like, it's assumed that Dumbledore knows everything that Harry Potter went through the first 4 years, right? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
if not everything, most of the things as far as what happened with like the Chamber of Secrets, the Philosopher's Stone.
I think part of Dumbledore doesn't want to get too close to Harry because he knows what's going to happen to Harry.
Well, what I was gonna say was I would think that he would know how much of a fighter Harry is, and thinking like, oh, this shit's gonna fucking isolate him. He's gonna become a hermit, so we'll just separate him. That'll be the end of it. Like, I feel like there's a big step there from even just a logical perspective of like, you didn't fucking think this through, you fucking twat.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, Dumbledore is far removed from human emotion, and he's more in the magical world. And if you watched the expansion movies that were the time before when Dumbledore was young, you see where that disconnect from human emotion comes from. But
I thought he was like basically, I don't want also to give Voldemort a look into what I'm doing or what any of us are doing. By keeping Harry in the dark, we keep Voldemort in the dark, and that's more important than the well-being mentally of him, which is fucked up.
it
But
is fucked up. But
that's kind of Dumbledore.
but you know what?
Fucking
If he had
does
taken the
fucking
time
bad
to,
things.
if he had taken the time to get Snape to teach those lessons to Harry sooner.
I also have to think like, and I don't think it's not expressed as well in the movie as it is in the books of the pressures being put on Dumbledore to get him out of the way
Out of
from the
office,
ministry.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on with his character that's not just centered around Harry Potter. There's like almost like a, no pun intended, a witch hunt
Yeah.
for him.
You son of a bitch.
I hate myself.
This is also the first movie where we don't get the Marauder map ending in the credits.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
This one, the ending was like I love the ending of the movie, or at least the end leading up to the ending. The very end of the movie was just like the last 5 minutes was just like eh.
yeah.
It was only 5 minutes of the movie that I was like eh.
Now I don't know if he said it or not because I'll be honest, I was kind of like I was actually hating myself too towards the end, trying to rush through this, but I didn't catch him say the word love, so I just
He didn't.
No, he didn't. He literally all he said is we have something that they don't.
yes,
And it's
so
something
happy.
worth fighting for.
And
It doesn't mention love at all.
I put in my notes, and
The end.
I'm so happy that I fucking. Oh my god. It's like that meme. Well, we're waiting.
Yes. I mean, honestly, if they had changed that line to be, we have.
I don't
At the end of the
mind.
day,
Nope.
if they changed the line to something more along the lines of, at the end of the day, we have something they don't have. Friendship and family.
Yeah, like we have each other or something.
Yes. It would have made
There's
more
something
sense.
outside
It would
of
have been that
something to fight for. It's like, well, he has something to fight for too. World
he's
domination.
trying to gain all the fucking power in the world, dude. Of course he's got something to fight for. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing this shit.
Oh man, he's so dead serious. Ooh.
What did you say?
All right, so we have made it to the end of the movie. Final thoughts and ratings, gentlemen.
Oh man.
I know who these gentlemen are that you're talking about, but me and Jason are here, so I guess we'll give our answers.
It was overall a great movie. Best movie thus far. It did a great job of, now that we got out of the way of needing to like build the wizarding world. It is kind of missed at times for
We
lack
get
of a
it
better
back.
term.
We get the building back a little bit towards the end here.
Yeah, I mean you don't get that. This is the one movie that doesn't. I guess okay, so I'll take that back. I was gonna say it doesn't expand. It expands in the fact that we get to see the ministry,
Right.
and I do like that expansion. But it's still more. It's concise. Like it's not as widespread. We're not getting different houses, different fucking things all over the place. Yes, it includes the ministry, but there's more like it's all taking place in a smaller bubble.
Yes.
And it deals mainly with Hogwarts and mainly with the Ministry of Magic. The score was on point. The acting, I think, is the best that we've seen in these movies thus far. The casting was all on point. Wasn't bored at all at any point in time. The movie went by really quickly. I don't know what the runtime was, but it felt
2 hours and 10 minutes or something like that.
It felt at no point in time like it dragged. This, for me, I'm going to give an 8.75.
Connor?
-2.
Now, come
Are you
on,
dead
this
serious?
wasn't Moon
That's just gonna be a thing from now on. Are you dead serious? I'm gonna go a 9. I'll go the full 9. Escalation was what I kept thinking of every time every time I was making notes of, like, not just in terms of the movie itself, but the overall, like, after every movie something's different, something else has changed, something else but everything is escalating in the right direction. This is kind of a pseudo payoff for a lot of build and a lot of different aspects of things.
Mhm.
I say pseudo because obviously we're not at the end. This is we're getting close to the climax of the whole thing, and there's just so many things that are done right. The 3 characters I mentioned before, Sirius Black, because not only like his like final like bonding moments with Harry, but also his death is going to have a massive triggering effect. Clearly, because who doesn't need more PTSD? The Dumbledore, completely, in my opinion, not completely, but mostly pivoting his character in a completely different direction, kept everybody on their feet, including Harry. And then, I mean, come on, Umbridge was just like probably one of the best villain characters, not just Harry Potter, but like fucking almost all of media. She's definitely up there as far as performance and impact, as far as what you wanted to achieve with her, in the sense of when she gets her comeuppance, it is the best. Like, give me that in an IV drip. That is a fucking great drug. But
Right.
there's other parts of this. Not only do you have the continuation of the story, like Sirius's death, and then having the impact with Harry, but also like the relationship with Dumbledore. But like we mentioned before, the idea of like the wizarding world and the government being like, nope, he's a liar. He's not. Nope, he's not real. Nope, he didn't come back. Just something about that story aspect was so on the nose. Much like what Heather said about the idea of like school is just to pass your owl bowel exams. And that's it. There's just so many good little things and details about this as a whole that just really, like, I love Goblet of Fire. I thought Goblet of Fire was very, very good. But this takes the aspects I liked about Goblet of Fire and takes it to another notch up.
Where Goblet of Fire had like teenage themes, this is adult themes.
Yes.
Or if it's not adult, it's like really fucking close.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of it too, is that the kids aren't really seen as kids. They're seen as mini adults in this one. They're not like a little fart cloud of Voldemort going through Harry Potter. He's actually like getting fucking getting his
His toe chanked.
His toe chopped by his chode chopped by Cho. That's what I was trying to say. Jesus Christ. Just there's so many things going on, and it's all trying to build to that crescendo, which we're almost there. We're almost there. So yeah, fuck it. I'll give it full 9.
Yeah, I'm closer to Basement Score with the 8.75.
Y'all suck.
Because again, this is my favorite movie out of all of them. And this is the movie, again, I'll say it, that showed everybody has now grown the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
This is the movie that Harry realizes that 1, school is not going to be forever. 2, there's somebody out there trying to kill him, and he's already killed several people around him. So he needs to fast track himself to be ready for that time that he's going to come face to face with him again. So this is the movie again. Everybody has grown up, and everybody realizes that shit is now going to get very real. It's all going to get very fucking scary. And it's all going to be dependent on not just our parents, but also going to be dependent on us for survival. And when I say survival, later movies that are coming up, it's very apparent that shit is just apocalyptic in the wizarding world, and it's bleeding into the muggle world as well.
And we're not just joking. We're
Right.
Shut up, you know it's a great joke.
But that is the end of the Order of the Phoenix, everybody. Next up, it won't be next week, but because Connor won't be here, but the week after, we will be back, and we will be reviewing Half-Blood Prince, which is my second favorite out of all of them, just because of the arc this story takes. So,
if you like Draco and you like Snape, you're in for a treat.
Oh yeah, this next one is another really good one. This one, the book was better than this book, but the movie is right along with the book.
Bitchin'.
So, tomorrow we don't really have anything planned. Wednesday we might do some. Maybe. If Basement's feeling better. And Thursday I will be back with some more Hogwarts Legacy. Probably getting close to the end of that game. Which also, come to find out, the part I was stuck on, I literally had nothing else to do in that room.
Oh,
Great.
Worst.
That is the only thing that has pissed me off to the point of actually calling it quits for the night. With this game.
You'll get there.
Yeah. Hey, to get this far in a game and have myself rage quit this deep into the story, this game is worth its money. I'm just going to say it. So.
Did you guys hear? They're pretty much 100% going forward with Harry Potter on HBO.
Yes.
As a television show.
Yeah, it's a reboot TV series, which... One, I am excited for it. However, I'm also deathly afraid of who they are casting for the characters, because it is literally recasting the entire movie series to be a TV series.
Ron, we gotta be up to that. That's the true.
The one thing I like is that they are including J.K. Rowling. She is going to be overseeing the project, which is great, and they are probably going to stick a lot closer to the source material. All we need is Adam Driver as Snape.
Oh, God, yes. Yes. And I did also hear that each season is supposed to be one book. So we are definitely going to be getting a lot of material that was missed by the movies.
That'll be fun to flesh out a lot of shit in between.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be good. Sorry,
absolutely.
Adam Driver.
But this is also, they're also doing this because they're trying to force Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe to do the Cursed Child movie. So
I know Rupert Grint was like, I'm on board. The other ones were like, J.K. Rowling's part of it. Like, well, J.K. Rowling's the only reason you got fucking money.
J.K. Rowling is the reason you are famous, honey.
Was he joking or?
I hate that scam.
All right, so everybody, you have a good night, and we shall see you again very, very soon. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any new content for the channel. Night, y'all.
We're dead serious. Yeah.